Welcome in to the Stephen Lovegrove Show. All things are possible for the one who believes, and I believe you are meant to be the one. That is the message of this show, and I am so glad that you are here. If you're watching on YouTube, take a second and like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell for notifications in the future. I will make you this promise that if you stay connected to me here on YouTube, you will slowly but surely begin to see your life transform from the inside out. If you are watching this on the live stream or on any platform later on demand, feel free to take a second and leave a comment below, just saying hello, letting me know where you're watching from, and letting me know that you were here. I never take it for granted that you would spend any part of your day hanging out with me, and I would love to know that you were here. And just know, across all space and time worldwide, whenever this gets to you, I bless you as you watch it, as it finds you at just the right time. But very glad that you're here. Two things I want to tease right up at the top today. So, number one, as I titled this when I went live on the stream, I'm going to be talking today about the thing that is required to bring any vision to life that a lot of people miss. And we're going to get into that in a moment. It's an important conversation that I certainly hope you will stick around and watch. Also, I want to tease up front, at the end of this video, there is something that my team and I are going to be releasing this week that is totally free and unlike anything we've ever done before. And we just ask you to participate in an unusual, but I think a beautiful and meaningful way. And so I will give you all the info later on about that in this video. But welcome in again. Thank you for being here, coming to you from downtown LA today. And before I get into the main topic, just a fun side thing that I really wanted to begin with today. I always have these late night curiosity moments, right? I feel like this is textbook ADHD behavior, and I have the self-awareness to be able to recognize that and say that, right? But at 2 a.m., I will suddenly be curious about something or drawn towards something or just suddenly want to watch or listen to or read something. So it's like 2 a.m. last night, and I find myself getting sucked into the new special about the Kardashians on E! I believe it's called something like Kardashians, a $1 billion dynasty, I think. Let me know in the comments if you have watched this. I don't know what the ratings did. I don't know if anybody watched this or not. Maybe not. Maybe it was just me, right? But I watched this thing last night. And shout out, by the way, to Shiraz, who is a former mentor of mine in Hollywood. Shout out to him for being an integral part of this documentary. But I'm watching this, and I knew probably 80% of the information that was in it. A lot of it was familiar to me. A lot of it was old news for me as somebody who has watched the show and followed the family for many years, etc. But something I was struck by that I knew I wanted to talk to you all about at the top of today's video is, it is so astounding to me how that family, and particularly Kim and Chris specifically, decided what they wanted and locked in that target with absolute precision and went and created it. That is astounding to me. And, I realize it's a polarizing family, it's a divisive family, it's a controversial family. People have many, many, many different thoughts and opinions and perspectives on the Kardashians, and I'm not here to weigh in on that or dive into that right now. But the thing that I think we should all learn from the demonstration that is that family is, none of it happened by mistake. It all happened on purpose. It all happened very intentionally. And I love the story where Kim was interviewed years and years ago, back when she was Paris Hilton's assistant, right? And it's wild. If you watch this, you will literally see like Heidi and Spencer from the Hills are talking about how they were introduced to Kim through Paris, and they hired her to come over as a closet organizer. And it's wild to hear Heidi and Spencer talking about Kim being sweet and polite and respectful, and she had great customer service and she did a great job. And this is Kim Kardashian we're talking about, but you're listening to a story about a past time when she was just a closet organizer being introduced to people that way, right? But anyway, in this documentary, they tell this story of how Shiraz talked to Kim when she was just Paris's assistant. And he asked her, what do you want? What are your dreams? What is your vision in Hollywood and entertainment in this town? What do you want? And all those years ago, Kim told Shiraz, I want to be the most famous person in the whole world. And I'm not going to stop until I get there. And I get chills when I hear that story. And listen, you may not like the family. You may have never watched the show. You may not resonate with them specifically. Don't get distracted by that. That's not the point of this. Hear the power of a clear, precise vision that somebody brought to life. All those years ago, she was organizing closets. And I don't want to say that in like a shady way. There's nothing wrong with organizing closets. We bless you, in fact, if you are an organizer, because my organizer, Amelia, has literally saved my life, I feel like, in a move before. She has changed my life, making me confront stuff. Anyway, all of this to say, if you go back to that beginning point, that assistant era, that closet organizer phase, even back then, Kim was clear on who she was and where she was going. And she said, I am going to be the most famous person in the world, and I'm not going to stop until I get there. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is, a lot of people, I think, hate on the family. And even in the documentary, you hear people use this term of, I don't like that they're just famous for being famous, right? And people complain about this all the time with them. But the point that I want to make is, whether you care about or like or resonate with what they created at all or not, can you recognize the demonstration of all things being possible for the one who believes? Because none of it happened by mistake. It all happened on purpose. It all happened intentionally. And they had a vision and they brought that to life. You know, I could use another example. I remember hearing someone from iHeart talk about how, even as a 13-year-old beginning to perform, Taylor Swift always stood out to him, right? And I remember hearing this story from, again, this former iHeart executive. And he was saying, even when Taylor was the opening act to the opener for Tim McGraw at the amphitheaters back in the day, right? The very, very, very beginning of her career. He said you could always tell that she knew who she was and she knew where she was going. She knew who she was and she knew where she was going. And I remember hearing this executive say, Taylor's dad would send us notes that they had written down about how to improve the fan experience. Notes about the lines for concessions, notes about, ADA seating options, notes about bathroom access. And he said, it was wild because we had never had that before. Like, performers didn't do that. That wasn't a thing. It didn't matter if it was the biggest star in the world. He said, we weren't used to having people give notes about, we wanted to mention this and we wanted to pass this along, and could you look into this for the fans, right? And he said, but I started to realize Taylor and her family and her team were so assured about where they were going. And they were already thinking 10 steps ahead. They were already thinking about what they would want to do as things grew and progressed and expanded. They were already trying to create the best possible fan experience, all the way back to the early days of the opener. And what's beautiful is this isn't even the specific vision message that this video is all about, but I feel like it all goes together in this theme of vision. And I pray that this inspires you and ignites you and energizes you today to think about how vision is always 10 steps ahead. My original OG talk, that was the first thing I ever recorded in my business. It's called Look at the Stars, and I will post it in the description or in the comments below, depending on what platform you're watching on. You can get that training today if you want to watch it. Again, the very first thing I ever recorded in my business, I returned to it because I felt called to, and I re-recorded a brand new version of it this year. But in that talk, one of the things that I talk about is vision never matches the circumstances of your life. It never syncs up to what your current reality looks like. It never looks like what you're currently going through. But that is the whole point. It's not supposed to match. It's not supposed to belong there, right? The entire point of vision is that it takes you somewhere new, that it moves you into a different reality, and that you become a new person, a new version of you along the way. That is the entire point of vision, right? That's the whole point of it. And so I hope that these stories just remind you that vision is always going to be 10 steps ahead. And if your vision is talking to you and you feel like to even be thinking about this, to even be exploring this, to even be mentally living there, I feel a little bit delusional. I feel like I've lost my mind to be there, right? I want to encourage you. That is probably vision talking to you, right? And by the way, if it scares you a little bit or a lot, that's a good sign that it is more likely than not your actual soul's vision rather than just your ego, right? Quick note here, while I'm thinking about it and on this topic, the next steps that we are called to take because they change our entire lives typically are the ones that scare us. And the distractions that ego offers us are often the ones that make perfect sense on paper. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't be wise. I'm not saying we shouldn't gather good information and get good counsel. I'm not saying we shouldn't do our research, right? But just be aware that often your soul will call you to a next step, and you won't even know, what is this about? What is this gonna lead to? What is here for me? You won't even be clear on that. You will just know, my soul is leading me into this thing, and I feel that very clearly. And by the way, I heard Kyle Cease say this recently, and I love it. The more you need to think about it, the less likely it is that that's a soul thing. If you are just endlessly thinking about it, consider all that mental chatter back and forth is really not a soul thing. But when your soul calls you to do something, have you ever experienced this? Let me know in the comments. There is an energy behind it. You feel it. It goes beyond just the mental chatter, right? So anyway, I pray that those stories encourage you about vision and you let yourself connect to the energy of Taylor as a young teenager, being the opener of the main act at the time, being willing to stand in that place already as a superstar, knowing who she was and knowing where she was going. Now, we'll transition from that into the main vision topic that I wanted to talk about today. And by the way, thank you all for being here. If you haven't yet, take a second, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications here on YouTube. I appreciate you so much. And the thing that I want to talk about most, importantly in this video today is I want to challenge you. Make sure that there is enough energy behind your vision on a consistent basis. Make sure that there is enough energy behind your vision on a consistent basis. And I'm gonna unpack this for a few moments. If you've watched me before, you may know I love a good metaphor. Hashtag metaphysics through metaphor. And boy, do I have a metaphor that I am excited to share with you here today. But I wanted to talk about this because I think there's a lot of people out there who have a vision, but there is barely any energy going towards it within their life, within their reality, within their consciousness on a consistent basis. There's a gap between the vision that they really do have and the level of energy that is going into it consistently, right? And by the way, so many of you are going to be watching this on YouTube. I am live streaming at the moment as we record this. And so I just want to address a comment here that I think brings up something interesting. Somebody watching live said, this is a silly one, but a certainty of vision that I need a soaker tub. And I just want to throw out there, what if we didn't judge any of our vision? What if we didn't actually judge any of our vision? Because, I was talking earlier about how our soul speaks to us and points us to things, directs us to things, leads us to things, and it doesn't always make logical sense. But our job is to stay in the flow. And I'm not saying that a soaker tub is the end-all be-all of your destiny, but I just want to offer, what if we didn't judge any of the desires, any of the guidance, any of the vision? What if we didn't? And by the way, if this resonates with anyone out there, I'll just spontaneously throw this out there. I did a training for my clients earlier this year that was all about an exploration of your desires. And we go through 7 prompts, 7 areas, 7 little mini explorations, if you will. And we tap into, what do I want right now? And we just invite desire to speak to us and let it come forth. Now, we have never offered that as an individual, training. If that resonates with anyone, based on this discussion, message me and I will make sure that my team puts together a link, puts together an option, and makes that available to you. But the point is, we want to get in the habit of honoring all the desires, all the intuition, all the guidance. And so I just want to suggest, as a general rule with vision and with desires, not writing anything off, not judging anything, not labeling something as silly or small or insignificant. What if you just trusted? Because, for example, just to use a quote-unquote silly, but it's actually not silly example, let's say somebody was craving an iced coffee, right? Maybe they're traveling, they're on a work trip, they're on a vacation, whatever it is. And let's say somebody is craving an iced coffee. Or if you're like me, maybe they want a dirty chai. Anybody else out there a fan of like an iced dirty chai? I might have to get one after this now because that sounds so good. So let's say somebody's craving an iced coffee, an iced latte, an iced dirty chai, and they follow that prompting and they go into a coffee shop on the street and they get the iced coffee. And let's say, while they're in the coffee shop, somebody walks in and they're cute and they catch their eye and there ends up being a little Hallmark style meet cute. And that person turns out to be the love of their life. Now that might be a dramatic example, okay? I'm not saying you're gonna meet the love of your life every single day, but I want you to hear in this example why couldn't that come through in that moment? Through that guidance, right? And see, the tricky thing about this, I remember one time I heard Stephen Furtick say, the tricky thing is the pivots that change the direction of our entire life don't often feel like a major change at the time. And I think that's true. And I think this is one of the difficult things about changing our life is we don't know what changes are going to be the big one looking back. We don't always know that, right? Even when people apply to work with me, I feel like, yes, they do often know this is a soul thing for me. This is the next step I'm meant to take. I believe this is going to lead somewhere amazing. But they often don't know where it's going to lead. I can't tell you how many times people have hired me as a coach and said, I don't know exactly what we're supposed to work on. I don't know exactly what all I'm going to get from this. Not because there was like a lack of clarity there, etc., but just because they are an intuitive person, an intuitive client, an intuitive leader, and they just knew on the inside, I've been looking for my next coach. This is the person I'm supposed to work with. There is something for me here. Maybe I've known that this day would come for a while and now it is here and it feels right. Or maybe I was just referred to you. I just found you online and there's an instant resonance and I know this is right. But many, many times people have said, I don't know where all this is gonna lead. But that's okay, because I trust my intuition above all else. And I believe in inner work. I believe in investing in myself. I believe in making sure that I am working on my consciousness consistently. And I just know there's something for me here. And it really is true. We don't know how it's going to look in retrospect, right? A couple of friends and mentors of mine, Chris and Jen, Chris Winfield, Jen Gottlieb, shout out to both of them. They love quoting the Steve Jobs quote that only in retrospect, I'm messing up the quote already, and you all know I hate that. Let me restart the quote. The Steve Jobs quote is, we can never connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect the dots looking backwards. Only in retrospect does it all make sense. Something like that, right? And so I share the coffee example to say, what if trusting a simple intuitive nudge like iced coffee, find one, get one now. What if following a simple intuitive nudge like that led somebody to something very significant, being the love of their life, right? They wouldn't know that when they were following the simple nudge of guidance, right? So, soapbox over, rant over there, but I just felt led to go off on that for a second and say, we don't want to be writing off any part of vision because we can only connect the dots looking back and we don't know where it's gonna go. We don't know what it's connected to. We don't know how it's all going to add up. But anyway, the idea we're talking about here, and welcome to those of you who are here live, the idea we're talking about here is that it's not just enough to have a vision and then set it down, forget about it, do nothing else with it, right? If we have a vision, we want to be putting our energy behind it consistently, right? And I want to use this example. As I said, I love a good metaphor. So what I feel like a lot of people do with their vision is they get a vision and they see something, right? And it's exciting, it's fun, it's expansive, maybe it's a little scary, it feels like a big thing, whatever it is. And so they get this vision and they're excited about it and whatever. But, it has been scientifically proven when we think about something that we feel is coming down the pipeline in our future, our brain processes it. And this is where I always am like, I feel like I'm gonna butcher the scientific explanation of this, but I also don't wanna get too technical here. I want to explain what I know is a proven scientific principle in a way that is accessible and digestible and makes sense. But essentially, scientists talk about how there's different areas of our brain that get used for different kinds of thinking, right? There's an area of our brain that gets used when we are thinking about ourselves, when it's a first person thing, when it's me, myself, and I, when it's an embodied thing that I am thinking about me, I'm thinking about my life, I'm thinking about myself. There is an area of our brain that gets used when we're having those first person thoughts about ourselves, right? There's also a different area of our brain that gets used when we're thinking about another person, an external person, somebody else, right? Now, what scientists have found is when we start to imagine, and let me know in the comments if you knew this, if you've heard this before, or if this is brand new to you and you're hearing it for the first time today, and I love that if you are. I always hope that you learn something new with me. But scientists have said, when we think about a vision that we have in the future, for our future, interestingly enough, our brain often does not use the first person thinking mechanisms to think about it. When we think about a vision, even if it is a very personal vision, a very authentic vision, a vision based in our desires, when our brain thinks about a vision in the future, it often uses the part of the brain that is meant to think about external people and things. And so what quite literally happens is we're sitting with a vision in our mind, but our brain doesn't see it as something we are doing. Our brain sees it as somebody else. And I know this is a little bit trippy, but this changed my life when I understood this in terms of vision. Many people, the reason that there is a disconnect is because the vision you have of this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to create, this is what I'm going to be experiencing in the future. Many of you, the reason that you're disconnected from that completely is where your brain has categorized that vision, right? You don't see it as something you yourself are living. You see it as a completely different person. Even if you know intellectually it's you, it's just you fast forwarded, it's just you in the future, your brain is using a completely different area to think about it. So your brain doesn't necessarily see it then as you living the vision. Your brain sees it as somebody else. And this is why there's often a disconnect. Because if it's somebody else living it, and we view it in that disconnected way, there's nothing for me to do today to bring that vision to life. Do you see the disconnect there? Now, I would argue the answer on a coaching level, on a personal development level, on an inner work level? I would argue the answer is we need to recognize that and realize then this is going to have to be an identity transformation. And this is why A Course in Miracles, for example, teaches we cannot have that which we are not willing to become. And this is a little bit of a different topic for a different day. I did a whole training, which you can find on YouTube, called Identity Reset, that will speak to this more if you want to go in depth about it. But the point that I want to make is, I think from an inner work standpoint, we should look at this and say, if my brain sees this as it's not current me that's going to be living the vision, it's a different person who's living the vision, that is going to require an identity transformation. And I better step into that as quickly as possible. And I better figure out how to see myself and show up in the identity of the person who has that vision, who is living that vision, who is in that vision, right? But I say all of that because when that disconnect exists and we haven't yet closed the gap, the way that I view it is the vision often gets put on the shelf. So while it lives somewhere in the back of our mind, right, we're not doing anything to move it forward in the now. We're not doing anything to honor it in the now. We're not doing anything to put energy into it in the now, right? And this is the metaphor I want to use. It would be like if you went to a bank and you said, I would like to open a new account. I have a new business open. I have a new idea. I have something new that I'm going to be working on, that I'm going to be building, that I'm going to be receiving for. I am ready to open up a new account. Please open up a new account for me. And it would be like if you went to the bank and you opened up this new account and maybe even you labeled it, right? This is the vision account. Substitute whatever your vision is. This is my new account for vision, right? And it would be like if you opened up a new account, but then that was where it ended. And you never made deposits into the account. You never touched the account. You never built up the account. You never grew the account. You never did anything with the account. It would be like if you just opened up a new account and then went on your merry way and just left it sitting there, right? And I don't know if this is a perfect analogy or not. Truthfully, this is the first time I've ever shared this particular metaphor. But I share it because I really do think this is what a lot of people are doing, where there's a massive gap between the vision you have and the energy going into it on a consistent basis. It truly is like you open the account and then you set it and forget it, never to return to it again, right? And here's the tricky thing. You know, we live in a world where, and I'm not hating on this, I'm not hating on technology, I'm not hating on anybody, because I feel it too, but we live in a world where we are programmed for instant gratification and easy, fast dopamine hits, right? I'm not saying that we intentionally want to be this way, but because of technology, because of social media, because of algorithms, because of convenience, because of everything available to us, it simply is the case that our brains somewhere along the way get programmed for instant gratification and easy, fast dopamine, right? What do I mean by that? Instant gratification means we get used to whatever I want. I believe that I can have it fast. And by the way, this is a tough one for somebody like me working in personal development, because my core message, as you heard from the top of this video, is that all things are possible for the one who believes. I believe that you have been given all things. I believe that you get to have what you want, anything you want, whatever you want. But the thing is, in this, and I sound like a grandpa saying this, my God, but in this world of fast food everything and microwave everything and instant download everything, my challenge as a coach is often, can I help somebody understand that you get to have everything you desire, but it may not be available in a drive-thru? So do you want it enough to stick with it? Do you want it enough to be persistent in consciousness when it doesn't look like it's working? Do you want it enough to keep believing when you don't see any evidence yet? Do you want it enough to stick with it as it moves from cause to effect? Do you want it enough to go through a process for it? And this really is a distinction that I have to clarify for people is, believe me, you get to have whatever you want, but it may not be available in a drive-thru. And in fact, the things that you want the most, right, are worthy of more than a drive-thru. They're not meant to be 5-minute manifestations. The things that define your career are not going to be 5-minute manifestations or 24-hour manifestations. The things that change your life are not going to be 24-hour manifestations. The things that you leave a legacy with, do you feel this, are not going to be 24-hour manifestations. And so I am here to take a stand for, you get to have absolutely everything you want. But really think about, do I want it even if it's not a 24-hour manifestation? Because the things you want the most, the soul level things, the purpose things, the legacy things, the destiny things, are probably not going to be 24-hour manifestations, right? And by the way, that's not to hate on 24-hour manifestations. I believe that things can change in an instant. I believe that things can change in a day. But I also believe, let's say, as I've heard many entrepreneurs over the years say, let's say that you have a dream, a goal, a vision, that you want to be interviewed by Oprah. Can we agree? That's probably not going to be a 24-hour manifestation, right? And actually, this is a different discussion, but can we also just acknowledge, you don't really want these things to be a 24-hour manifestation necessarily, because you want to be ready and prepared and equipped for them. I have said so many times with TV, I am so thankful that my first live TV appearance was not one on my dream channel, Hallmark, because trust me, Hallmark was a beautiful experience. It was life-changing. It was a dream come true for me to be a recurring guest and expert on home and family. But understand, I would not have been ready for that for my very first TV appearance, right? I would not have been prepared to go do that show. So let's stop thinking that like it would be better for everything to be a 24-hour manifestation, because you don't just want to be the person who can attract it for a moment. You want to be the person who can live in it. You want to be the person who can sustain it. You want to be the person who can enjoy it. And by the way, you want to make sure that you're building the right thing. I remember earlier this year in an application, a potential client told me, I spent all of these years working with my partner to get to the top of this mountain. And we worked very hard and we put everything we had into it and we did it. We got to the top of the mountain and we got there only to realize it wasn't the right mountain for us, right? And by the way, I don't believe that's something that you need to feel shame or judgment or regret about in any way. I actually think, for what it's worth, that there's a way to look at that and say, What if that's just the mountain that you felt inclined to climb in whatever past season of life, and now you want to climb a different one, and you're going to get to the top, and now you're going to climb a different one. And I don't believe you have to view that as a mistake or a regret at all, by the way, but I do believe there's something to be said for if we're going to climb a mountain, let's make sure that it's the one we want. Let's make sure that it's one that comes from soul and not ego, right? But to go back to this bank analogy, I really believe a lot of people open up a bank account and the issue is instant gratification says, I want it now. So whatever I can have right now, that is the goal. That is the highest priority. That is what I'm going to say yes to. Instant gratification says, I want it right now. And then easy, fast dopamine says, I'm going to trigger the thing in your brain that makes you feel productive, that makes you feel accomplished, that makes you feel like you're doing something. And easy, fast dopamine says, let's just find the fast track to feeling like you did something. And this is a confronting message, but if you're with me to this point in the video, by the way, if you're with me to this point in the video, like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, because clearly my work speaks to you and I want to be able to encourage you and empower you more often. If you're not watching this on YouTube, please take a second and go subscribe on YouTube for more content like this. But I want to say, many of you have been prioritizing things, even by accident, subconsciously, based on the easy, fast dopamine hits. And the problem is, sometimes something feels productive, but it's not actually productive, right? It triggers the thing in our brain that feels like we're doing something. But that doesn't mean it's productive. And that certainly doesn't mean it's moving our vision forward. That certainly doesn't mean it's getting us what we want. You know what a really good example of this is worry. Let me put it this way. Worry feels very productive at times. Not only very productive, it feels very urgent. It feels very important. It feels very necessary. It feels very wise at times, right? And yet, worry actually gets nothing done. I read a study recently, shout out David Nurse and his new book, Do It. But I read a study in this book that said the average person spends almost 25% of their thoughts in any given day on worry. I believe the exact number is 24.9%. 24.9% of their thoughts are going towards worry. That's wild. That is a quarter of your day, a quarter of your thoughts, a quarter of your mental energy going into something that is not giving you anything back. And so I think we really do have to be mindful of, where are we investing our energy into something that doesn't give us anything back, that doesn't give us any return, that has a horrible or non-existent ROI, right? And somebody watching this today really does need to begin to see the difference between what feels productive versus what actually does make a difference, what actually does do something for you, right? And the overall principle that I want to say here is, when you live in the energy of your vision, you move it forward every time. When you live in the energy of your vision, you move it forward every time. But you're going to have to make a choice, not just one time, but daily, consistently, moment to moment. You're going to have to make a choice. I am willing to live in the energy of my vision again and again and again. And I don't see it yet, but I'm going to live in the energy of my vision again. And there's a shiny object I could get distracted by over here, but I'm going to live in my vision again and again. And other people don't understand what I'm building, but I'm going to live in my vision again. And I don't see a lot of evidence that it's working yet, but I'm going to live in my vision again. And I'm not sure how to make it all happen, but I'm going to live in my vision again. And I wanted to use that bank account analogy today. And thank you, those of you who are here live, for letting me know it resonated. I wanted to use that metaphor today to say, be willing to not just open the account and have the initial excitement and rush and productivity of, I open the account, it feels good to announce a vision, it feels good to tell people about a vision, it feels good to get excited about a vision. I love that. But it's not the vision that you announce that comes to life. It's the vision that you stay in alignment with. And my God, that is a word for somebody today. It is not the vision that you announce that comes to life. It is the vision that you stay in alignment with long enough to create it. And so for the person watching this that has opened an account, but you know that account is sitting there mostly untouched. There's not a lot happening in that account. There's not a lot of deposits going into that account. There's not a lot of investment going into that account. There's not a lot of commitment around that account. For the person watching this today, and you know that is true, I want to challenge you. What would it look like to not just have the vision somewhere in the back of your mind, but to actually make it a priority to stay in the energy of your vision? And by the way, let me just say boldly and without apology, this is a huge piece of why coaching moves the needle for so many people and for my clients is when you tell me a vision, I am not just gonna let you put it on the back burner and keep it there. We're going to stay in the energy of your vision, and we're going to come back to it again and again and again, and we're going to make a deposit into that account again and again and again, and you will stay in the energy of the vision long enough to actually bring it to life. You will stay in alignment with it long enough to actually see the vision come to pass. But that is what it takes. Don't leave that account just sitting there. But I feel good just knowing I have a vision. Don't feel good about having a vision, but an account at 000. Have the vision and be willing to keep investing, keep making deposits into that account day after day after day, right? I promise you, you won't always see every single day direct evidence of it moved the needle here, it moved the needle here, it moved the needle here. But trust me, the law of cause and effect does not fail. The law of correspondence does not fail. And if you persist in staying in the energy of your vision, you will see it come to life. And if I can do anything to support you in that, you all know the website, applywithstephen, STEPHEN.com. We have a couple of weekly and a couple of bi-weekly spots either open right now or about to be open as we go into the summer. I would love to support you in getting clear on your vision, getting into alignment with it, and then actually staying there and living there so that you can bring your vision to life. We'll post the link here on this video, applywithstephen.com. But that is my vision message for you today. One more thing that I want to talk about that I teased at the very beginning of this video, and shout out to all of you who have stayed with me for all of it. So I have a brand new teaching that is coming out. I believe at the latest it will be available by Friday, US time, maybe even a little earlier, maybe by Thursday, US time, it will be up. But I have a new teaching coming out called My Secret Weapon for Continual Flow. My secret weapon for continual flow. I am so excited to share this teaching with you. And as I teased earlier on in the video, we're doing something different with this one. So you don't have to pay anything to get access to this teaching. We're not selling it like a normal training or program or course. We simply have one ask, and that is for you to pick a person, an organization, a leader, a ministry, a nonprofit, someone or something that you believe in them and you believe in the work that they are doing in the world. We are asking you to pick someone or something, an organization, etc., like that, to make a generous gift to of any amount. We won't define that for you. We won't tell you what it has to be. You get to choose who and you get to choose the amount. And all we are asking is that you make a donation, you make a gift along those lines and send us the receipt of that. All the information will be on the page. We'll post the link here in this video and in the comments or in the description below, whatever applies based on the platform that you're watching on. But I really want to share this teaching with you. And like I said, the brand new teaching will be live by Friday at the very latest in the portal. In the meantime, I'll tell you a secret, we're actually sharing a bonus teaching from another program that is very loved and very powerful, that we're actually including as a gift and as a bonus that you will have instant access to. We've already made that live in the portal today. So we will post the link, but again, this is different than normal. You don't have to pay anything to get access. We simply ask that you make a gift to someone or something whose work you believe in and let us know you have done that. And by the way, we're doing that on an honor system. You can sign up for free. And, so it's not like there's a photo verification process required. We will be checking, but at the same time, like I said, this is about an honor system. This is about the principle. Please do the right thing, honor the request, do what we're asking you to do to participate in this with us. But very excited to share this teaching with you. We will post the link below. And that's all I've got. Thank you for hanging out with me today. Leave a comment. Let me know what spoke to you in this video. I will be back soon with more of the Stephen Love Grove Show for you. I believe in you, and I always will. The best is yet to come. I'll see you soon.